All right. Hello, friends. Welcome to Doing Life Together. Hold on a second here. Good to see you all. All right. Hello, friends. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Doing Life Together, episode 8. And today it's on my heart to speak to those of you who are young parents, parents of littles. Maybe you're expecting a baby, whether through adoption or you're having a baby. Anyway, one of my absolute favorite things to talk about is natural parenting and my journey to get there. Now, as many of you know, I taught natural childbirth classes, and it's one of the things that I found so super duper empowering when we were expecting our first. And I gave a shout out to my cousin, who was the one who really brought my attention to the fact that you can do things differently. It's okay. And so tonight, I just want to encourage expecting parents, new parents, littles, whatever it is, wherever you're at in the journey. And if you have someone in your life who has recently had a baby or recently adopted, any of those things, take them. Let's chat. Now, I want to be clear, I don't know everything in this arena by any means. I have raised 4 boys, and they are turning out amazing. I'm so proud of all 4 of them, and I'm super grateful. And so I'm just going to share some things that I learned along the journey. Hi. Hello, Stephanie. Good to see you. So awesome. As you're coming on, will you just put in the comments what state or what country or wherever you're from? Put where you're from. I'd love to hear. It's always fun. And then also questions. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And before we launch into this, thank you to each of you who downloaded my new book that is just on Amazon now. And the Kindle version is free to download today. So if you have a minute, just go to walkinginhispromises.com and then be sure to click. I did a video showing, don't do the Kindle Unlimited unless you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber. Do the buy now button, and then you'll get it $0, but you don't have to subscribe to Kindle, and you'll be able to read it right on your phone or your computer. Or if you're like me and you love a hard copy, especially with this particular book, because I have so many things to kind of work through in it, where I like to underline in books and write in it. Hello, friends. So good to see you. Okay, you know what? Paulette is saying, I'm not a new mom, but I'm a new grandma. Always wanting to learn. And you know what? Actually, that's so super powerful. I remember my mom was raised one way, but my dad's mom, so my grandmother, many of you hear me talk about my grandmother because she was so ahead of her time. She was into natural living. She believed in the power of our body to heal itself. And she just was amazing. But she was actually the person who encouraged my mom in some of the things that I'm going to share with you tonight. So know that a role as grandparent, I know sometimes I've got no grandbabies yet, but my oldest will be 21 soon. I'm frozen. That's not good. We don't want that. And so I know that in the future I will become a grandmother, and I pray that I can navigate that beautifully to be an inspiration, but obviously in the best of ways. Okay. So book, go download it for free. I can just say I absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt this is going to be a blessing to you. I absolutely know it will. And you know why I can be so stinking confident? Because it's not my book, it's God's book. And it's loaded with his word, not just my words. And that is why I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this book is going to transform your life. So go get it. It's free to get. Did I mention that? Free. Free is a good price. And so it's free today to get the ebook. And if you want to buy the soft cover, it's there too. So awesome. Okay. So one of the things that when we were expecting Jake, I shared that I was in the medical system. I was surrounded by people who thought medically speaking, and I would have probably just followed the standard route because that's often what we do. Except God inspired my cousin to let me know that there was an opportunity to take childbirth classes that would teach me how to work with my body and hopefully not need medication and all of that. And so, how is it free? It's free on Amazon. Go grab click buy now for the Kindle version. You don't need to be a Kindle subscriber. Everyone keeps asking, do I need that? No, click buy now and it should say $0 for everyone. So nobody doesn't have to get this book because of cost. Like, it is free for you today, the ebook, which is fantastic. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for a great question and for clarifying that. All right. And so hopefully someone mentioned my video was a little frozen, but hopefully that's not the case for all of you. Anyway, so I decided, Willie and I talked, we decided to take these natural childbirth classes. And I've mentioned before, those classes changed my life journey. Okay. I know this sounds dramatic, but for real, they did, because they taught me how to be my own advocate. They gave me confidence to be my own advocate. And oh, good. Glad. Okay. Not frozen. Good. Okay. Good news. So that's one of the biggest things I could give any of you is confidence in your parenting. Now, do you have to learn some skills? Yes, learn some skills. So another book that changed my life, and I think I learned about it through the Bradley classes, which is what I went on to get certified to teach, just because it was so game changing for me. And it was one of my favorite things is pouring in to parents and equipping them and empowering them to make educated decisions, not just to say, yep, if that's what you say to do, sure. Yep, absolutely. Because I'm just going to say it again. I'm a big person in empowered decisions. I am a big person in doing your research. Pretty much every area of my life, I try to apply it. I mentioned one time I didn't do any research and I still regret it. And it has to do with a heartworm medication that we put our standard poodle on, and we saw her really go down, and then later learned that we were not alone, others. And I didn't do my research and I regret it. And I feel like so often when we just put our blinders on and are like, oh yeah, it's just what it is, you're the one who lives with any negative results. And so I like to go in. I know that I may not always make the perfect decision, because there's usually pros and cons to whatever you decide to do. But I do know that when I do make a decision, or at least this is my goal, I know why I made it and I have peace with that. So I just want to give you, as young parents or new grandparents or whatever, courage. Do your due diligence on everything, even things that you just assume, well, of course, that's what we do. Just do your research. Just do it. I don't think you'll ever regret it. I know it takes time, but to me, it's time well invested, because those little lives are helpless. They come out, they're completely dependent on us and what we choose to do. So, the first thing I want to talk about is childbirth. And if you are pregnant, it's very normal, in my opinion, especially on that first baby, to go, this is really exciting. And I'm super excited to have a little one on the way or whatever. And you start feeling that life within you, and it's amazing. But there's this part of you that's like, okay, but what's the exit strategy here? How are we going to get little one out? That's called birth. And I don't know about you, but as a first time mama, I was a little nervous about how that was going to go down. But by learning how to work with my body, learning honestly that women for generations, the human race lives on, because many, all these women have successfully brought babies into the world. And I also learned that a lot of the medical procedures that are often introduced can slow labor and change the course of labor. So there were some things that I learned, and that was how to work with my body. That was huge, not work against it. So, for instance, women before OBs were introduced to the childbirth arena, most women birthed in their home with midwives. Like, that was probably most common, unless there was an emergency or something. And very few women, a few maybe, but very few women naturally thought, oh, I have to push out my baby, I'm going to go lay on my back in the bed. Like, as it turns out, our body intuitively knows, like, gravity's going to be in your favor. So one way or another, probably laying on your back, having a baby, is probably not your best deal. It will lock in that sacrum, and it causes some problems. Well, who knew, right? Like, all the movies show all the mamas having babies on their back. And so I'll share with you that as I began to learn, it was up to me. I had to do the research. of things like that. And then I had to make the decision. And so we picked a doctor, and in hindsight, we learned, like, it turned out this doctor had one of the highest cesarean rates in our city. So in hindsight, I don't think we picked maybe the best doctor for what ended up being our goal of having a drug-free natural birth. But what was really cool is we were our own advocates and we were still able to do it. But later on in my process, I decided to seek out doctors who were more aligned with my own goals. And I think that would be a word of wisdom. In fact, sometimes switching doctors midway, it's not always a bad idea. If you and your doctor just don't see things quite the same, I know it's scary. I know you think you're going to like hurt that doctor's feelings by switching practices. But in many ways, if you are on a totally different page, it might be a relief to that doctor as well. And secondly, doctors aren't watching who's coming back and who kind of dropped off. That's dealt with their office staff typically anyway. So, um, oh, Phyllis, newborn nurse advocate of using Norwex, and that has been. I'm glad you're bringing that up, Phyllis, because Norwex has been a huge part of my natural parenting because it filled such a critical piece when I began researching the chemical side of things and creating better air quality in our home, not having residues on surfaces. Norwex was such an important fit for natural parenting and being able to clean with just water with that silver embedded fiber so the claws didn't get nasty and stinky. So yeah, amen to that. And now I think that's why I still do Norwex is I get to educate people. There's a better way. Like you don't have to go to the store and, buy disinfectant wipes or, all the things that many of us were just trained up. Of course, you got to bleach everything, or of course, you need to use fill in the blank cleaner, right? So, yeah, I think that was part of my learning curve. So, birth is important. Do your research, surround yourself with other women who have achieved the birth of your goals, right? How you would like to bring your baby into the world. After you do your research, find some parents who've done that because so much of life is actually believing for a certain outcome, right? Like if you think, oh, well, everyone has to get epidurals, like that's the only way. You can't push out a baby without an epidural, then it's going to be hard to do it another way, right? Like you have a core belief that that's required. So always seek out mentors in your life. And tonight, maybe my voice is going to be a mentor to one of you, or, hopefully so. So it turned out that we were able to have a completely medication free birth for Jake, our firstborn. And then we began to continue learning from that little things. And one thing is pick a caregiver that is aligned with your vision. That's important. By the time Benji was born, my belief in my body was much higher than with my firstborn. Let's just be honest. Even though my firstborn, I was already in my head, like thinking about what about a home birth, but it felt a little scary to me. Like, oh, but what if it goes wrong? And so, yes. So Carol's saying my core belief was natural. And some of you have been blessed. You've been raised by parents that instilled a very healthy core belief in you. And that just helps you so much. It's so good. And if you weren't instilled with that, guess what? You get to instill that in your children. So you never have to instill the same things. You get to choose what values and what healthy beliefs you can help your children grow up with. I think all of us have some things that we might make some pivots on. Like I'm super grateful for my upbringing, absolutely, and I had to learn stuff, some of it, but some things that I've pivoted on is my financial mindset. That's what the book is about. I really had to pivot there. My body image mindset. I really had to pivot there. And that's not about my upbringing. That's just, I think about our society more so, although I've shared with you my story about turning 40, right? And core beliefs that rear their heads. Oh, maybe that's in the book. I don't know. Who knows where I shared what? All right. So birth is really the start of your baby's life. So take the time to educate yourself if you're expecting and learn that your body was made to bring this little baby into the world. I want to speak to the dads because sometimes, with especially birth, dads are like, where do I fit in this? And I highly encourage you take the birthing classes because one of the biggest things is when you know the stages of labor, then when you get to the point in your labor where most people go, give me the drugs, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. when you've learned the stages of labor, you know you're probably, chances are, in transition. And that's why your body's going, because there's all this stuff happening at that point and it feels crazy. But if you've educated yourself and you understand that's usually the shortest part of labor, it usually goes pretty quick, but it can be intense. But knowing that, then you're like, oh, I recognize this. I learned about this. I understand the nausea can be normal right now. And you can just kind of know, because otherwise, if you haven't educated yourself, you're like, I can't do this for another 10 hours. Like, oh my goodness, if I've already been in labor however long. So anyway, oh, what a gift, Carol. I love that. I love that. So that's the first thing is I just want to speak into any expectant parents' lives. It is worth educating yourself. Now, if you don't have time to take childbirth classes, which I think there are some really powerful ones out there, and of course, I believe in the power of them. There are amazing books. And so I want to say back in the day, I don't even know if his books are still a thing or not, but Dr. Sears. Does Dr. Sears still have like parenting books? I'm sure you can still get them, right? But Dr. Sears was the author that I began to read that gave me confidence and belief that I can trust my mama instinct, that God put a very strong mama instinct and daddy instinct too. This is not to leave the fathers out, but God put within us a gut instinct to protect and do what's best. And in many of the parenting books, like the Let Them Cry It Out and whatever, it goes against kind of every fiber of your being as a mama. Like, no, I didn't want to do that. And so Dr. Sears taught me that actually it was okay to do attachment parenting, which was what my heart wanted to do. But then I knew there were people in my life saying, no, you can't do that. You're going to have them sleeping with you till they're 20 and, whatever. So interestingly enough, I would seek out some natural parenting books and you're going to make your own decisions. Me, I'm going to say pray about everything. That's my magic sauce on everything. I pray about everything. I don't think there's a single thing in your life you shouldn't pray about. That's just me. Anyway, but as you read some books, and so what Dr. Sears wrote about is how when you wear your babies, and I love it now. I see so many more young mamas out and about right now who are wearing their babies in slings, and my heart just smiles because 21 years ago, it was an oddity. People would stop me like it was not normal back then, and it is getting more normal. Hallelujah. But wearing your babies, whether it's a wrap that you wrap in, or I loved the ring sling because I could breastfeed pretty much everywhere pretty discreetly. It was just so fabulous. I loved that. But whatever it is, wearing your baby actually creates a more confident toddler, and because they feel confidence that you're going to be there, like you're saying, nope, I've got you, I'm here. And so um anyway, so things like baby wearing, I'm a huge fan. Breastfeeding is amazing. Now I'm going to say breastfeeding, it's natural, but it's not always easy. It's not the most pleasant thing always in the first. So if that's you, I totally get it. I remember, boy, I mean, we're just diving deep here, but especially latch issues. Speaking of breastfeeding, though, I want to give another word of wisdom. I also got certified as a La Leche League, whatever, just to be able to serve my students a little bit better in that arena. And one of the things I learned is how important latch is. And so if you're wanting to do that, but you're really challenged, please find a breastfeeding educator. I don't know. I'm not thinking of the right word. I've been out of this world too long, but they can help you with amazing things to help overcome some of those challenges. So if that's something you want to do, I think that even if you face some challenges, it's worth kind of working through those. Oh, that first latch. And hey, for all you new parents, like as you learn about natural childbirth, you're going to learn how God made our body is brilliant. So every time you breastfeed, your uterus has to get shrunk back down. It's not anyone's favorite topic. Trust me. They don't really give you a lot of heads up on this when you're lactation consultant. Thank you. I was just blanking. Thank you. So, but what that does is every time you breastfeed, it releases hormones that go and contract the uterus, which is very important, very, very important for your long term health. Can we uncomfortable, can feel a little like contractions, all the things. But it's so cool that breastfeeding actually helps your uterus get shrunk back down where it needs to be, get the blood that's shedding and all the things. So anyway, yeah. Oh goodness. I mean, I taught a several week course, so I don't think I'm going to fit this into 20 minutes tonight. So mainly my message to you is to know and surround yourself by people who have the knowledge you need. Okay? I think that's so important. So find your mentors, find your group. There's often natural mama groups in your community. Get plugged in. You'll learn amazing things that way. So, Stephanie was just commenting that with her first pregnancy, she went the conventional way of an OBGYN doctor. And then after a lot of fear tactics, which is not always uncommon, made the choice to switch doctors. And that can be very hard, but I've seen for a lot of people, they were glad in hindsight. So again, you are the one paying to have a doctor, right? Like you get to choose the right doctor. And if it's not, I just want to give you permission to make that switch. And so, oh, Ida Mae Gaskin, yes, I read several of her books, and then you switched to home birth and researched doula. A doula is so powerful in birthing, to find a good doula because well, they know what they're doing, and it can be just so helpful. So beautiful. I love it. Yes. And so, Stephanie, I'm glad you're saying that. So, with our third and fourth sons, we did have them at home, which I would have actually loved to have. After doing that, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. I don't think I could easily go back unless it was an emergency to a hospital birth, because having them in the home, they're exposed just to the germs that they're already kind of immune to. The other cool thing about breastfeeding is your immunity starts passing, and if they to them, and then also if they are exposed to something, your skin, your breast has this awesome ability to create natural immune antibodies to what they've been exposed to. It's just, I mean, it's so good. It's so good. God is just a brilliant, he's just amazing at how he made us and made our bodies so wise. So anyway, big fan of that. And then so attachment parenting, if you haven't researched that, I encourage you to. And after the first, we really did try keep them in the crib and all of that for a period. And then I was consuming that information and realizing that we actually switched over, and with our firstborn, and we began, after much research and doing our research. Like, I would never want to do something that would put a child at risk. And so, for instance, if you choose to co-sleep, it's very, very important that you put some things in place. Like, it's important that you're not under the influence of alcohol, drugs, sleeping aids, because when you aren't, the especially mothers are exceedingly in tune with their baby, and it's quite rare. But do your research. Do your research. I'm not saying it's right for everyone. I'm just giving you permission to do your research and then decide based on what you learn, and research both sides, right? It can be a little harder to find one side versus the conventional side. That can be a little bit harder. And that's where mentors come in. But books are amazing. So I just encourage you to avail of yourself of the books as well. So baby wearing, we co-slept, but we did our research. We tried to follow all the safety rules of that, and amazing. And no, they didn't sleep with us till they were teenagers. Hallelujah. They transitioned nicely into sleeping on their own. And in fact, we always have had very, confident kids. So, um, weaning at a year. Stephanie is just typing in the comments. I love that, Stephanie. And so she's saying, typical conventional wisdom is you got to wean your baby by 12 months. Like, that's just kind of something that's just put out there. You don't gotta wean your baby at 12 months. Like, if that's what works, and you've done your research and that's what you decide to do, fabulous. You just gave them 12 months of amazing breastfeeding, the connection, the hormones for your body, all the things. Like, if you breastfed one day, that's like, whatever it is. I'm not here at all coming in any judgment, because I know everybody's situation is so different. And I'm fully aware that there can be challenges on the way. So this is certainly just to speak out hope and maybe a couple tips. So, anyway, and let's see. Um, yeah. Yeah. So I think just like do your research and get connected with people who you're like, okay, I see that they've done that. They're a little further on the journey, and then learn from them. Also, don't be afraid to challenge status quo. You're going to hear me say that again and again and again. My motto is truly seek truth, right? So many times we're like, well, everyone else says it's truth. It must be truth. Done, but you've not done your own due diligence. If you're not doing your research, now, granted, sometimes we have someone we really trust and we know they're a big researcher. And sometimes if you don't have time to do it yourself, you lean in to those people and you do put a level of trust in what they're saying. But ultimately, it's you and you alone who's responsible for choices. And this is not just child rearing, it's just life, right? All across the board. So you're going to hear that throughout doing life together. It's just me being that voice saying, sometimes you do need to challenge status quo, right? Just because you've always thought all your life that bleach was safe and smelled like clean doesn't mean bleach is safe, right? Or clean. So like doing your research is just the thing that I would say again and again. So yeah, natural parenting, again, this would be a longer topic than just tonight. I see I'm already over my 20 minutes, but just think about research attachment parenting. Just you owe it to yourself. Research both sides. If you're expecting, research how your body naturally births and find a caregiver who's aligned with your goals, because otherwise it's going to feel like an uphill battle. Like if you have to fight for every inch to get your goal, like there's so much. Like, are you going to clamp the umbilical cord immediately, or are you going to let it go pulsate, get all the blood where it's going, and then clamp it? I mean, they seem like really simple things, but they're all decisions that I want to empower you to make. Like, you don't have to just let your caregiver just do what they always do. I encourage you to do some research. So, when you get into this, you're going to find other things as well. So, to my new parents, young parents of littles, new grandparents who maybe have learned a lot since you had your own children, the biggest thing I would say to grandparents is this: your kiddos may not be in a time and place in their life where they have hours to just pour over and read books on how to have babies naturally, right? So, if you as a grandparent or you as a mentor in someone's life or an auntie or something, wherever you fall, have time to do some of the due diligence, to simmer it out. That can be one of the biggest gifts you can share with them is, hey, I just was reading this. Did you see this? I thought this was really good. What do you think about this? Now, we all know that oh, that's exciting, Lou. Yeah, have them watch. Tag anyone who might be considering getting pregnant, which is a whole nother thing. Like, if you are thinking of starting a family, this is a really important time from based on my reading to get your nutrition. And guys, it's not just the ladies who want to get their body nutrition lined up. It's you guys as well, because men's nutrition impacts their sperm. So, like, if you know that you're going to be starting a family soon, that's a whole nother research thing. Like, just to make sure that your bodies are full of the right nutrients and strong to be able to give that little newborn everything that he or she needs as they're developing. So yeah, so I think, but yeah, if you just have someone in your life and you can do a little bit of the due diligence or help them, sometimes it's so overwhelming to know even where to start. So that's, in my opinion, that's a gift. And really, as many of you know, I am so grateful for the mentors in my life. And I believe it's that God has placed them there. And sometimes we're the mentor God places, and other times God places someone else in our life as the mentor along the journey. But I truly believe that as humans, we were made to do life together, doing life together. I think that's how we were created. And I think that when we put ourselves in a vacuum, and we all experienced a bit of a vacuum, would you not agree, during the pandemic and lockdowns and quarantines and all the things? There was a bit of a vacuum there. Like, people weren't communicating the way they had been previously. And I feel like that made it a little bit harder to to make those decisions in an empowered, researched way because we were all to some degree, I know we had Zoom and stuff, but really caused separation. And it was not as natural to do life together. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, I am just hoping that whatever we're faced with in the future, um, that we will remember the importance of seeking wise counsel from all around us and not doing life in a vacuum. I think that's my thoughts because there's so much we can learn from one another. Anyway, okay. Well, so if you have any new parents or expecting parents or planning a family, people, whatever, tag them. I just want to be the voice to say you are empowered to research, to make amazing decisions, to surround yourself with people who you look at them, you're like, I like what they've built. I see something in their life. Ask them questions. They would be so beyond thrilled to share what has worked and to pay it forward, right? Because probably someone else spoke into them. Amen. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me. One last shameless plug. Go get your free book. It will not be free as a Kindle download very much longer. And you can also get the paperback if you want the paperback. And I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. This has been a lot of my journey that has changed my life. And so God called me to write it down, which I did in obedience, and it's loaded with scripture and reminder. I didn't always love the Bible. I knew I should love the Bible, but I didn't actually love it because I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't understand. But God has just opened up the amazingness of who He is, and what we have access to in Jesus. And it is mind blowing. And this is just literally the tip of the iceberg. But start here, go get it for free. Download it tonight, Amazon, grab the Kindle version. And I just hope you'll read it and share it with a friend. And honestly, it's free. So if just tell them to go download it, even if they're not sure they're going to read it. Go get it, because I believe that I have learned so much from authors. Sometimes that's where I found my mentor. I've never met that author, but I got information that helped me take that next step. So, all right. God bless you, my friends. Thank you for joining me tonight. Love all of your input and interaction. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we will see you next Wednesday. All right. Good night, everyone.